Freedom's greetings, Helldivers. The three enemy factions hate us and we hate them back. That's nothing new. But what do they think of each other, and are there any connections between them? That's what I'll be answering today, including what do they think of our dissidents. So let's get started. We're gonna start with the Terminids, as they would basically have the same reaction towards anything else. You see, the Terminids originate from the Bugs, from the First Galactic War. And the Bugs were actually sapient and intelligent species. Not as intelligent as humans, probably, but certainly more intelligent than the most intelligent animals we have on Earth as of right now. But even though they were so intelligent, being able to create and handle the civilization comparable to the human one, they were very territorial and an invasive species. And that's one of the reasons why the war with them even started. But after they lost the war and they were closed on the E710 farms, they were genetically modified, essentially becoming the Terminids. And the Terminids are way less intelligent than their ancestors, but also with that way more aggressive and territorial. Especially after the failure of the first TCS system, they became insanely invasive species, terraforming the whole planets into their nests in scale never seen before. And that's what we can see on the hive worlds and overall existence of the gloom on the galactic map. So, as you can guess, their first thought, if they even think, would be to attack any other faction like Illuminate or the Cyborgs. Especially the Cyborgs, as probably the Terminids have like natural hatreds against the humanity, I feel like. So they would target the Cyborgs especially, they would ignore the automatons when fighting with them. But of course, if it would be only the automatons, only the robots, they would attack them. That's for me certain. The Terminids would just attack everything in sight and try to capture their planets, of course. On the other hand, the Cyborgs are not as dumb and they for sure are aware of what is going on when it comes to galactic war. We can tell this because their movements are very coordinated around taking advantage of the current major order. For example, during this very campaign, which is focused on the Terminid front, we have lost Mitre Bay and Mesa, which are strategically very important planets. But that's nothing unique. The Illuminates are doing the same with the Void as of right now. We just have lost Sanjis. So when it comes to actual relations between the factions, of course, as I just have said a minute ago, there is no peace between the Terminids and the Cyborgs, simply because Terminids are way too aggressive and way too invasive. So Cyborgs realistically only have two options: either eradicate them, which I doubt because of logistics, or do the same thing as we do, use them for production of E710. The automatons as of right now are anyways producing the biofuel using animals and super Earth citizens. We can tell this because their fuel is suspiciously blood colored. And I have no idea which of the fuels, E710 or the biofuel, is more effective, although when it comes to the production level, the E710 is the superior here especially because of how fast the Terminids are reproducing. So it would be just stupid to eradicate the whole species and waste that resource. It's better to contain them and use them on farms. But Illuminate are not killed for any resource, and they are actually intelligent, so can be negotiated with. In fact, at first they have been negotiating with the Super Earth. So, would the Illuminate cooperate with the automatons? I doubt. What I'm gonna say now is only from memory. I've seen it once, I cannot find it again, and I cannot even verify it myself because I don't have Helldivers 1. But supposedly, in Helldivers 1 on Cyborg-controlled planets, you could find Illuminate assets which were abandoned, and some of them look quite like remnants of some fight. If that's true, it would suggest that the Cyborgs have responded with aggression towards the Illuminate on the contact. And if that's true, it will also suggest, maybe, that there is something about the Illuminate which either they don't see, or we as Super Earth don't know, which is absolutely fucked up. But honestly, this part doesn't have to be true, because if it's not true, I think Cyborgs would be willing to cooperate with Illuminate, and even if it's true, I think that the Cyborgs would be willing to forget about it and actually cooperate with the Illuminate. Unless the reason was, of course, that fucked up thing that I have just mentioned, but it's absolutely not sure, nothing specific. So let's say it is not true. The Cyborgs would be willing to cooperate with the Illuminate. But the problem here is with the Illuminate. They would probably never agree to cooperate with the Cyborgs. Because in the First Galactic War, they almost went extinct because of war with humanity. And Cyborgs originally were humans. so they probably also see them as complete threat that should be completely deleted from the galaxy. And overall, Illuminate had become very xenophobic when it comes to other races and other species because of the war with humanity. They would never agree for any sort of cooperation with the Cyborgs. Probably they would attack them on sight. And we of course have the Terminids and the Illuminate, and there is no peace here. Terminids too invasive, Illuminate too xenophobic, there would be war, Illuminate would win this war and eradicate all of the Terminids, as the Terminids are no use for the Illuminate. But these two actually have connection between them. The first one is obvious one we all have seen, and the second one is quite complicated. Let's start with the one we all have seen. When the first Terminid control system have failed, the Meridia has become the super colony, and we had to nuke it. And because of the E710, both on the planet and in the nuke, the planet has turned into a wormhole. We didn't know it was a wormhole, but when the Illuminate arrived, it was obvious it was the wormhole which Illuminates were using to enter our galaxy. Not only that, they were able to empower it and control it. They have been moving it toward the super Earth, destroying multiple planets, and later on, when we stopped it, it has been used as a portal for the Great Host to attack the super Earth. But outside of that, E710 is a connection itself. The E710 has similar properties to the dark fluid, and the Terminids on the Hive worlds can even create E711, which is the very condensed version of the E710, and E711 can be directly transformed into the dark fluid itself. And dark fluid for the Illuminate is like basically core of their whole civilization. This fluid is powerful enough to not only create immense amounts of energy in just seconds, but also powerful enough to warp the reality itself, which we can notice during the exostorms and with the Void. We have no idea where the Illuminate are getting the dark fluid from, and does it even have any relation with the Terminids, but there is something. Both those fronts are very highly attached to the dark fluid, while automatons, for example, maybe not even know it exists. And we of course have the dissidents. If they tried to interact with the Terminids, they would be dead. Terminids would kill them, of course. And pretty much the same would happen if they tried to interact with the Illuminate. Illuminates would kill them and on top of that turn them into the Voteless. They see all humans as a threat, not only the Super Earth. Only faction which would be willing to take in the dissidents are the Cyborgs. Yes, they do have the bioplants, but I feel like they only turn the citizens which refuse to give up the Super Earth, which probably happens often looking at how much propaganda there is. But I genuinely think that the Cyborgs would accept the dissidents, although I also am sure that they force those dissidents to become the Cyborgs themselves. And there we go. As you can see, there is nothing to worry about. I highly doubt that any of the factions would cooperate with each other. They would much rather fight with each other than actually help each other. Unless when it comes to the, coordination of their attacks. They can look at the, hey, this enemy attacks my common enemy that I have with them, so we can also attack the common enemy. That's the only thing that they would actually cooperate on. Anyways, that's it from me. I'll be seeing you in the next one. See ya, Helldivers.